Welcome to the City Debate Show, and joining me around the table today, the Manchester City reporter at the Manchester Evening News, the esteemed Mr Christopher Bailey, and international footballer turned broadcaster turned blogger, Andrew Hinchcliffe.
Vlogger or blogger?
Oh, he's a blogger.
Am I?
You've got to progress to vlogging. So, Andy, let's get serious. The derby.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I thought United played well. I thought City, certainly in the first half, didn't play, I think, in the spirit that normal derbies have played. I don't think they got close enough to United, whether it was down to the formation or a bit of fatigue after playing on Thursday night. I just think the approach was wrong in the first half. I think we were fairly fortunate to go in just a goal down. Second half with the changes, I think we improved. The aggression was there. But I think generally we didn't play well. I think we didn't cause United enough problems. Van der Sar, one save to make. It wasn't enough. I think United were the best team and deserved to win the game. I
have to say, Chris, having seen as many derbies as I have, there seemed a real shortage of blood and thunder in the first half hour.
Yeah, we never really got into United's faces, did we? And let them settle down and pass it around and get into a rhythm. I just endorse everything Andy says, but it didn't. I think it was a poor game overall. I wouldn't even say it was a particularly good game. Of all the, I think I've seen 40, 41 derbies now. It wouldn't be in the top 35, that one.
Probably in the top 40.
Sometimes happens, though, doesn't it? You look at, like, you've got Ronaldo, you've got Rooney, Berbatov, you've got Robinho, Sean Wright, you think, oh, we've got a great game in prospects, and sometimes it can go flat, and this one did, I think.
City just need, I mean, yeah, derby games, you get in the faces and you put them out of the stride, and there was just not enough of that.
Well, I thought it was quite interesting on Match of the Day too. Alex McLeish, he picked his player of the match, and he picked Ji-sung Park for his ratting rather than the glorious ball players that the rest of us were hoping be front and centre.
Yeah, you need a bit more of that. I mean, the two players who really stood out, on one on either side, who really, the derby spirit and the derby fever, if you like, were Wright Phillips for City and Rooney for United. And the rest, really, I don't, it was just like a normal game, I think, to the rest of them. In fact, to me, it had the feel of a European game in the first half, with City, the away team, just suckering United on and hoping to hit them on the break a little bit. And it didn't really have the passion of... the fans were fine, but the play really didn't match that.
But, Andy, let's talk about Sean Wright Phillips for a minute. Did he get unfair treatment yesterday?
Not particularly. People have said, there's a lot of tackles going in, but this is a Manchester derby, after all. I've seen a lot worse tackles than I saw on Sunday afternoon. So, yeah, Sean you've got clips a few times. I think generally a few players did, but I don't think it was a dirty game by any means. I don't think United went out trying to rough City up. It just wasn't that type of game at all. In the first half, I can't remember any bad foul from a United player at all, really. So it wasn't that kind of game generally. I think City fans maybe looked at that and thought, well, City were knocked out of their stride and roughed up a bit. But I just think they didn't play well. And you expect a few hearty challenges in a Manchester derby. I don't think there was enough of them from City's point of view, certainly in the first half.
Huge irony, wasn't there? I mean, 4 days earlier, you've got Alex Ferguson moaned about protect Ronaldo, he doesn't get protected enough, and then half his team get booked for hacking Sean Wright Phillips to pieces. So, people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. So
let's stay with Sean Wright Phillips, because at the moment he's been playing inside to accommodate for sell-out on the wide. Now, this is a layman's perspective, Andy. I'd appreciate your professional view, especially as a full-back. But Shawnee, when he goes past his marker and heading down the greensward, is a threat. Yeah. Inside, if he goes past somebody, he's just waiting for the next defender, isn't he? If
I had a choice of a left-back playing against Sean Wright Phillips wide on the right, or if he's going to play central midfield, I know where I'd rather have him. I think most of the opposition feel that way as well. But I think he's been asked to do that job because we don't really have a partner. Stevie Ireland's played very well. Company's kind of playing that holding midfield role. There's no one else, really, that can make up that triangle. So I think Mark Hughes has said, right, with Vassell, we know his work rate. He won't cause that many problems, but we need Sean in the team somewhere. And he's just really, I think, bulking up that central midfield area. But I think when he signs somebody, whether it be Diarra, someone who can come in and play that role, you'll see Sean go back onto the right-hand side. He did in the derby, eventually, when the reshuffle was made at half-time, and he was far more effective out on the right. So I think he's just really in there just to make City a bit harder to break down, but it's not his best position by any means.
No, it's not, but he is reasonably effective in there. I mean, he set up a goal against Arsenal with a wonderful run and pass in that central...
He did, without a doubt. I'm not saying he can't play there, Chris, but if you want to see the real full blob, Sean Wright Phillips, you want him on the wide, don't you?
Yeah, you want to play him out wide, and you want defenders to be scared of him, and you want him to attract 2 people, maybe 3 people, so the others have got plenty of space, Islander, and that's where City will have success, by attracting defenders. There was no width in the team on Sunday. That was half the problem in the first half. It was so narrow, and Robinho, who was probably not fit, was turning back inside a lot. And eventually he will. And Mark Hughes knows he needs him out on the right, but as Andy said, needs must at the moment.
I think what's happened as well, Ilano, who was in the team playing alongside Stevie Ireland with company behind them, Sean could play on the right, but Ilano's fell out of favour. Once he was left out of the team, then we were really short in central midfield, and that's why I think Mark Hughes played Sean in field.
What about Micah?
Well, he's injured again now, and probably doubtful for the midweek game against Paris. To me, he looks half a yard slower than he was last season. Now, whether that's just my eyes deceiving me, I don't know. But people say to me he looks heavier, he looks slower. We've spoken to the coaches about that, and they measure them. They weigh them and they measure the body fat on a weekly basis, and he's no heavier or fatter than he was 12 months ago. But to me, he just looks, maybe it's a confidence thing, he just looks a little bit slower than he was. But he didn't do badly on Saturday. In the 2 previous games, he looked a lot better, but there's more to come from him.
Let me ask you this, though, Andy, because the last 3 stories I've read about Michael, one was by Chris Bailey about his charity work, very commendable. The other 2 was about him being the fashion guru at Carrington, and he's bought himself a Harley Davidson, although his contract precludes him actually riding it. Yeah. Now, yes, if you're a footballer at that level, there are certain benefits that go with it, but you're going to be judged 10 years hence by what you do on the park. Yeah. And he's made a great start, but he needs to keep his focus, doesn't he, if he's going to end up in the Hall of Fame?
It's happened very quickly for Michael Richards. I don't think we can take anything away from him. I think he's a wonderful player. He is, 19, 20, so he's still a young man. But I think when you play for England as well at a young age, you can see the media spotlight suddenly becomes on these players, and then there's his own website as well. There can be a lot of distractions. I think that's the thing. For a young player, I think he needs to get back to just playing the football. I'm not being overly critical, so I think Richard Dunn's had his problems defensively. Tal Ben Haim, Joe Hart's made a few mistakes. It's not just Michael Richards, but for a young player, I know what it was like. When you get into the first team, things can happen very quickly. You need to concentrate on your football, because again, as you said, that's where you make your name, that's what you will be remembered for.
That's where you need the right people around you.
You do, but I always remember Matt Busby saying to all his players, you don't need to go chasing money, you get the football right, all that'll come as part
and that was in an era when they didn't make any money.
I know. But you understand the distractions, Chris, but you do hope that with that talent, he will stay on focus, because potentially there's a lot more to come, surely.
He's a young man, and you don't say he can't have a life outside football, but for the next 7 or 8 years, he should just live football, because he's got plenty of time to enjoy the trappings afterwards. But like I say, he's getting a lot of stick on the websites and on the phone-ins, and some of it's justified, but some of it isn't either. He's not suddenly gone rapidly downhill. I think it's just that we expect so much of him because he was so good when he first burst into the team.
Right, well, let's get rid of the derby. We've had a bucket full of that.
Just on the finals, I think what was amused me was how seriously United took this derby.
Well, Fergie's mind games was a giveaway, don't you think?
They are distinctly rattled by what might happen at City, and I think in a year's time, that City team that played yesterday, 4 or 5 of them will be in the team, 4 or 5 of them might be on the bench, and the others won't even be at the club, so they're right to be rattled. And the way Rooney spoke before the game, and the respect Ferguson paid City by picking his best team, it shows that they are slightly worried, and City fans should just take this on the chin and be patient.
Well, I accept that, Andy, but I would say United would have been more rattled by the performance against Schalke than what actually they came up against on Sunday.
I think the fact that City beat them twice last year as well, they won the Premier League, they won the Champions League, but the only really the problem they had last season was we beat them twice. I think the first game we were fortunate, we played very, very well at Old Trafford to beat them. I think that really did hurt them. No matter how much you win, if you lose to City like they did, they wanted to try and put that right. So I think that was a big focus for them, was kind of turning that round, and they did.
The Schalke performance, from where I was looking though, Chris, was the most measured, most mature performance I've seen from that team.
Well, it was accomplished. Everything you want in an away performance in Europe. Quieting 54,000 people. The roof was shut, so it was noisy. Our fans were fantastic, I've got to say. 3,000 of them in the corner made more noise than the Germans did all night. It was a wonderful atmosphere, and they had never been beaten at home by an English team. And really fancied the chances. They wanted to win to qualify, and City did a job on them. And they sat back, they quieted them down, hit them on the break twice, and never ever looked as though they were going to concede a goal or lose or draw the game. It was a thoroughly good performance.
But if we take the UEFA as the icing on the cake, Andy, the job in hand is that we're 2 points above the drop zone. I know it's a very unusual Premier League, 2 points above the drop zone away to Fulham on Saturday.
Yeah, we've already qualified for the knockout stages of the UEFA Cup now. If we beat PSG, I think we can top the group and we can look forward to February. But there's a lot of football, Premier League football, to be played between now and February. Some really important games. The next 5 matches, we don't play any of the real top sides, but there's all the sides that are stuck in the middle of that Premier League. We're up against them, so we desperately need to pick up some points. But I think they've got to look at the 2 games before the derby. Against Arsenal, Schalke, we did everything right. 1 game doesn't necessarily mean you're a bad team. We need to get back to doing what we're good at. Against Fulham and Everton, the games that are coming up, we need to get back to playing as well as we can and picking up points quickly.
But over those 5 games, you can't really countenance anything less than about 10 points, can you, Chris?
Well, if we're going to finish 6th, 6th or in the top 6, which is still a realistic aim. I think we're only, 5 points or 6 points behind 6th place at the moment. So, that's still a realistic aim. And, no team is stringing 3 or 4 wins together. And this is the chance now. Fulham away, although they've had 2 good draws, 2 0-0 draws away from home recently. And then Everton at home and West Brom and Hull, I think, are the next 2. So, and then Blackburn after that. So the chances are there now to go on a run. But last time we said that, it was Middlesbrough, Newcastle, Bolton, and they didn't win any of them. So, fully concentrate on the league now because that table doesn't look good at the moment.
Right, Andy Hinchcliffe, go do a bit of mind reading here. I'm in your mind. You won the cup with Everton.
It's a very small space that you're working with.
Oh, no, there's plenty of room where I'm looking, mate. 1995, you win the cup with Everton. Can I take it you're a fan of the FA Cup?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So Nottingham Forest at home, you can't ask for much more than that, can you?
A home draw. I think it could have been a hell of a lot worse than that. Yeah, I think you take... Forest aren't doing too well either. I think they've got their problems. But you talked about the UEFA Cup. I think that now you're looking at... that's a priority because there's a lot of games to be played now. It will be tough, but we're not going to win the Premier League. We're going to struggle maybe to finish in the top 6 now. We need a real good run. The FA Cup... really, they have to focus on that and do their very, very best to win that competition. Portsmouth last season have shown it can happen. It's about consistency, as Chris said, in the Premier League and in the cup competitions. I think if we get it right, we could have a decent run, but that's a good draw, home draw.
You can't ask for anything more than a home draw against a team from a lower division. And no matter what the reputation or the history, they'll bring a lot of fans. Hopefully it won't be on telly and it'll be a good atmosphere and let's get into the 4th round.
And we can understand it, because as you said in your column, the UEFA Cup...
Yeah.
All the twists and turns. You could do a degree in the UEFA Cup, couldn't you?
You couldn't. Well, in our group now, we're mathematically safe, so it is very hard to work out. It's almost harder to get knocked out in the group stages than it is to progress. I know Bolton tried the best last year and couldn't manage it, couldn't he?
This is the City Debate Show. This is Chris Bailey from the Manchester Evening News, and that is Andy Hinchcliffe. You can take your pick, footballer, broadcaster, blogger. But we're going to be talking about Manchester City an awful lot more in part 2, because when you are the richest club in the world, just about every transfer story revolves around you. See who we're being linked with in 2. City Debate Show round the table this very day. Chris Bailey from the Manchester Evening News and Andy Hinchcliffe, formerly of Manchester City and England. Right. You know, Bales, that just about every story, certainly if it revolves around transfers, is going to have a Manchester City link. There was one story over the weekend, though, that did give me pause for thought. It was, I think, in the Star on Sunday, that Mark Hughes had been approached by Robinho for assurances, not about his own place, but about Joe Andolano. What did you make of that?
That'll be the lunatics taking over the asylum.
It feels like that, doesn't it?
You can't, with the best will in the world, you can't have players asking for other players to play, otherwise they're picking the team. You might as well take Hughes' name off the door and put Robinho's on it. I mean, you can see where he's coming from in terms of there is his friends, and the worry amongst City fans would be if Lallana doesn't get more games, Robinho's going to get the ump and want to clear off. But by the same token, if Kaká came in, I think he'd be his best mate, and then so you take those stories with a pinch of salt. I'm sure Robinho would like Lallana in the team. A lot of City fans would like to see Lallana in the team, but it doesn't mean it's right, and the manager's got to be left to pick the team.
Now, in all fairness, Christopher, me and Andy are your friends, but we don't want you in the first team.
Correct. Absolutely right.
That is a path to madness, that, isn't it?
Well, I think Robinho can have his own views on who he thinks should and shouldn't be in the team, but he has to respect the manager. However big a star you are, an individual player, he's played for Brazil, he's got a World Cup winner's medal in his pocket, you still have to say the manager, the buck stops with him. I can say any number of things, but you can't then dictate to the manager who to play and who not to play. Mark Hughes has got to be strong and say, yep, I'm listening to everything that you're saying, but I think this is the way we're going to go, and this is the way we're going to go, because he's the manager.
One of the papers over the weekend said that this City wish list, when we spend the £200 million or other number you arrive at for January...
It's a credit crunch, isn't it? 200 million. It was 400 million.
It's now up to 50 players. Yeah. One of the papers this morning put, I thought, an interesting name in the frame. Your reaction, please, Mr Bailey, to Emil Heskey.
Look, it's no secret we want a new big centre-forward, and it's no secret that Santa Cruz is the man that they really want, and I would be surprised if Santa Cruz wasn't the one we did get. Heskey's in the same mould, but maybe only got 18 months, 2 years maximum. He's had a good season, he's played well for England every time I've seen him recently, but, we should be going beyond the Emil Heskeys.
Does it matter, though, Andy? Because with our newfound wealth, we could take the Chelsea route that says, let's sign a 30-year-old for 30 million. If he lasts the season, so what? We'll spend another 30 million.
If he's better than what we've got, then I can see some sense in that, but it's not going to be a long-term solution, is it, Emil Heskey? I think he has had a great season for Wigan. I think he's back in the England team playing really well, but he's not a natural goal scorer. He won't get you 20 goals a season. What City are really crying out for, every club in the Premier League really is a proven goal scorer. So whether you played Heskey alongside somebody, I'd look at Jermaine Defoe. I think he's an out-and-out goal scorer. Would there be a chance of getting hold of him? If he played alongside Heskey, those two players would go straight into my City team now. In the future, I'm not so sure whether that will be the case.
Goals aren't really the problem, are they? We're not.
Well, they are from midfield. I think from midfield we're getting a lot of goals, but there's I think 8 goals the strikers have scored all season.
As a whole, we're scoring enough as a team to win games. It's stopping the...
But you're proposing something more radical there, because if you're going with 2 up front, you're looking at 4-4-2, aren't you? Which we've not seen an awful lot of under Mark Hughes.
Well, I don't think we haven't seen it, because I don't think he's got the players to play that way. I don't think he's confident at all.
You think he'd go that way if he had the players?
Well, I think anything's possible. You need the choice. Some games you can play the way that he plays with a 4-1-4-1. You can go 4-3-3 or 4-4-2. A lot of clubs don't have the luxury of saying we've got enough players who are versatile enough to play different systems. But if you had Heskey and Defoe, you've certainly got to be tempted to play both of them up front rather than just leave one of them out and play with one up front.
He played 4-4-2 at Blackburn, didn't he? Almost exclusively. So I think if you got a Diarra in central midfield along company, then you've got the 2 who can play, and then you can put your 2 wide men alongside.
You haven't responded to his Defoe-Heskey combination yet?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure those 2 are the 2 that would be going.
So he's wrong then?
Well, I'm not saying he's right or wrong. I think anything's possible.
Tell him he's wrong.
No, I'm not telling him he's
You should be a politician.
I'm not telling him he's wrong because the way things are with City, anything is possible. I mean, anything is possible. They've got the money, and it's just a matter of getting players out of clubs by persuading them that it's a great place to come, and it's really going places. So anything could happen. Really, honestly, anything. Kaká, anything.
Right. Well, let's separate the kite flying from realistic transfer targets. John Terry, 60 million quid. When did 60 million become our standard transfer offer?
I think Buffon was about another 60.
When Abu Dhabi took over.
But John Terry, this about Ashley Cole
That's
as
kite
well.
flying, that,
well,
isn't it?
you'd think so, but as Chris said, if money talks, these clubs, you don't know what kind of positions they're in, but realistically, it must be harder to get John Terry than
What would you do,
Defoe.
for instance, if we said to Chelsea, we want to buy Ashley Cole, John Terry and John Obi Mikel, and they said, all right, give us Rubinho, you can have all 3 of them.
I'd take it.
Well, that's the kind of deal. We don't know whether that would be a kind of deal that would appeal to Chelsea, who obviously still covet Rubinho. So don't rule anything in or out. I mean, City are in a wonderfully enviable position. They're the only club in the world that's got unlimited funds, no debt, can pay transfers in one big go. Instead of saying we'll give you $1 million a year for 25 years, they go in, buy that, and as they did with Rubinho. These owners have had 10 hours in building a team, and they bought Rubinho in. So let's see what they do. I mean, I'll be amazed if they don't pull some really, really good rabbits out of the hat.
Well, that's what we all want to happen. Let's talk about one that you definitely think has got legs, because you wrote it.
Yeah.
Kolo Touré.
Yeah, and he's not in the Arsenal team at the moment. He's been there, 7 years. His people say he might be ready for it. And obviously, City can't have spoken to him because that would be highly illegal. But... he's obviously...
Clearing your throat there, Ben.
Yeah, I was clearing my throat there. That was a millionaire. Big question moment. But, he's a player who's not in Arsenal's team. He's been there 7 years. He may be ready for a change. They need to rebuild. Again, it's a possibility. And then he'd be a good player. He'd be that experienced head at the back.
How old is he, Touré, by the way, is he?
27?
27,
I think he's a very good player.
He's been there since he was a kid, so... and people will see that, and you only need one more marquee name in there, and the floodgates are open, whether it's a Buffon or a Kaká or one of those, and then everybody will go, well, look who City you've got. Let's go and join them.
What about Ashley Cole as a left back? Are you a fan?
Of Ashley Cole, the footballer, yes.
Yeah. He likes his wife.
I think Cheryl's very good.
How many times have you voted for her then?
She's really good up front. Anyway, no, Ashley Cole, yeah, he's a quality left-back in the modern game. I think there's no one with more energy. I've not seen a left-back cover as much ground as he does. Virtually plays as a left winger many times I've seen him play. But you look at even Wayne Bridge there, understudy really to Ashley Cole. I think he's a very good player. Stephen Warnock at Blackburn. I'm just wondering whether... There's not many left-back. If you look around the world, there's not many that you'd say... Roberto Carlos used to be the one, but he's probably a bit long in the tooth now. There's not many that you probably say, well, yes, we've got a choice of 5 or 6 top-quality left-backs. And maybe, as Chris said, if City have the money, they might tempt Chelsea with Robinho going one way and a player like Cole coming the other. Whether he want to come to City and leave London.
You won't swap Robinho
question.
for Cole, though. I mean, I wouldn't swap.
No, I wouldn't either. Now, as we come towards the end of this, you think Touré's got legs. You think Roque Santa Cruz will happen. Roque Santa Cruz. The other shoe-in, or assumed shoe-in, was Diarra.
Yeah.
But Terry Venables, writing over the weekend, he put another name in the frame. I don't know if we could get him, but as you keep saying, all things are possible in this new, exciting world. He said that perfect for City would be a certain John Obi Mikel.
Well, the way he plays, yeah, he would. He'd be a perfect complement for company. He'd protect the back four, and then all the ball players can go forward and, you know, maybe not have to backtrack as much. Yeah, he would be fine. But if you can't get him, Diarra's a pretty good substitute.
Nodding very sagely. Go for either.
I'd probably go for Diarra, to be honest. That's something about, even when we beat them 6-0 at Eastlands, I thought Diarra was head and shoulders their best player. He never gave up. I just think he's a very good player. As Chris said, if you play that diamond formation, the triangle in central midfield, and you've got Company and Diarra with maybe Stevie Ireland breaking ahead of them, and Wright Phillips can get back to his natural position, I think that could be a very strong midfield.
I mean, people say, well, he's moved about, he's been at Chelsea, been at Arsenal, been at Portsmouth. Well, so what? You know, he might find his home here. And, you know, City, like I said, City can pay up front. So, you know, it's a big persuasion that to other clubs in January.
Just to finish, the league table is very strange this season. It is so tight that City are 2 points above the drop zone. I don't think we're realistically looking at them being involved in a dogfight, are we, Andy?
I think by the time we play Blackburn, I think on the 28th of December, we'll probably know what kind of season we're going to have, because we've got 5 tough games coming up. As you said, I think we need to get a good 10 points out of those matches just to give ourselves a bit of breathing space. But it's consistency. Look at that league. I don't think it's any more competitive or better than it's been in recent years. I just think it's fairly mediocre, and City have got caught up in that. They need some consistency. We have some good players, some good performances. We need to climb up the league.
As always, Mr Bailey, you get the last word.
Well, brilliant 1 week, brittle the next. Let's have more brilliance and less brittleness, please.
But no, we're not in a dogfight, are we?
No, not in a dogfight. Too much quality.
Oh, I hope you're right. This has been the City Debate Show. This is Chris Bailey, who's the City reporter at the Manchester Evening News, and Andy Hinchcliffe, always very welcome round this table. Manchester City, the keepers talking, and we'll be doing that very same thing, same time, next time, City Debate Show. See you then.